Hello, hello. I didn't mean to click go live. I'm early. I meant to click something else. It's been quite the day around here. I don't know whether you can see and hear me, and I am early, so I'll be talking to myself for a while. Hi, I'm Casey Durango of Go Keto with Casey, where I like to talk about how I've lost 97.4 pounds since starting the ketogenic protocol and how you may be able to lose weight, improve your health, and regain control of your life. If anybody shows up, because you may not know, I was supposed to be live an hour ago, and I went to go live, and it seems like a program on my computer hijacked my camera. So I clicked, and everything looked right on my side, and I clicked go live, and then this logo jumps up, and I could not get that off. I mean, it took me this long to get it. Hey, fingers crossed. Hello, can you see and hear me? Heather writes, hello from Boise, Idaho. So thank you very much. Hi, Casey. No worries. We are here. Great. Thank you. I'm just going to jump on in. I know I'm a little bit early. I'll vamp for a little bit because some people may be waiting. Hey, ketogenic says, yay. Let me tell you what, I have sent feedback to that company. It was not like what do you call it? Malware or anything. It was I had access to a beta version of a computer program. I just haven't used it. It's been on my computer for probably a month, but I just haven't had time to check it all out. And so I've been doing the same thing I've been doing with the YouTube live streams and my patron-only video things and my so-and-so. And for some reason today, it decided to take over. I deleted it off my computer. I did all this stuff. I rebooted. I cleared my cache. Still, every time I tried to make another version of this live stream, this program took over. So I've sent a strongly worded bit of feedback, and I will not be participating in the beta. All right, good afternoon. Hi from Lincoln, Nebraska. It is a lovely day here. It's a little chilly, but that's appropriate. And I hope you are all well. Again, I'm going to keep vamping until we get closer to the 1 o'clock because that's what I said. Does anybody have any questions for me? Comments, feedback, other than, oh, where are my glasses? Here they are. Other than, what's up with leaving us hanging at noon? Does this look okay? I'm always very weird. And for those of you who are on the patron-only live stream earlier today, this is not about the new camera that I used on that one at all. It's a totally separate thing. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Heather. You're most kind. What else can I say? Okay, I'm going to vamp. You know, at the Durham support group meeting, which has been held online for several months for obvious reasons, Dr. Westman slept through it. He didn't show up at the Durham support group meeting that is on Crowdcast, and I helped moderate it with him as I have done the in-person ones, and he wasn't there, and he wasn't there, and he wasn't there, and I texted him while we were doing it, and after we wrapped up, because we went ahead and had the meeting, I'm so sorry. I fell asleep. And that's okay. He said, were there any problems? I said, no, I vamped. And as you know, vamping is one of my superpowers. Just so glad you got it figured out. Frustration abounding, yes, and technology, as we say, my frenemy. All right, so let's talk about using food to cope. And I do use the quotes for that. I have some pretty strong feelings about this. And it's really only fairly recently that I have been kind of framing things in this way. To my patrons, it may not seem fairly recently, but there are a lot of things that we do to tell ourselves something. That doesn't sound right. There are a lot of things we tell ourselves that sound right, and it sounds plausible, and it sounds acceptable, and we say it so many times that it becomes the truth, that it's an accepted truth. Lots and lots and lots of things. Like Like if you eat fat, it'll clog up your veins like it does, like, our plumbing gets clogged up with grease. That is not a good analogy because for one thing, we are not plumbing. And for another thing, grease melts fat, not grease. Fat tends to melt. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. Anyway, but that's what we told. But one of the things that we tell ourselves, and even mental health people will acknowledge, if I tell myself I use food to cope, and if a mental health person or a medical person says you use food as your coping mechanism, that sounds plausible. And also, we've heard it and said it to ourselves for so long. I take a different view now. I didn't used to, but I take a different view now. We use food to not cope. By definition, we use food to not cope. We use food to deflect, to distract, to numb. But we don't use food to cope with our problems. Because if we have a problem, fill in the blank, whatever that problem may be, and we decide, oh, I've got this problem. Where are the Doritos? Or where's the chocolate? Or where's the French fries? Whatever it might be. We eat them. We get kind of numbed for about 4 minutes. And then we turn around and guess what? The problem is still there. So we have not coped with the problem. But even mental health professionals will say, you use food as your coping mechanism. It is not coping. So what? You might ask. So what are you talking about? So what's your solution? The solution is we need to cope with our issues without food. For instance, say you're getting ready to launch a live stream, and then your computer craps out on you because some program is overtaking your camera settings. My problem was that I had an issue. I had a technology issue, which made me upset, irritated, embarrassed, and felt like I was letting people down. I did not use food to cope, because for one thing, I was typing the whole time trying to get things fixed. What I did do, and I didn't cope with it. A whole long string of profanities. I was quite the vulgarian. But that's just a silly example of, if I had gone into the kitchen and grabbed a bag of anything, it could have been pork rinds, it could have been salami. That wouldn't have fixed the problem with the computer and the program and If you come home from a hard day's work, those of you who are able to work outside the home, and it's been a long day, and maybe your boss is being kind of a jerk, or you just fell down on the job, you didn't get done what you wanted to do, whatever it might be. I mean, the things that can bother us are innumerable. Seriously. For every human, there are probably 5,000 things that we can list as irritations, problems, flaws. None of them are solved by eating food unless the problem is actually hunger. Particularly during these unusual times, compounded by the coming holiday season, which I talked about last week. And this holiday season may look very different for many reasons this year. And that may add to stress. It may relieve stress in some cases. We were talking about that on the patron-only live stream. Can't be with your family. Well, okay, that means a whole lot less pressure from families about food and all this and traditions and all that. But that aside, food will not ease any of that anxiety. It may numb us, N-U-M-B, us for momentarily. But let's think about that. If that's the case, well, it just makes me feel better right now. Would you say that to an alcoholic in recovery or a drug addict? Well, if it makes you feel better right now, go ahead. No, you got to, at some point, you've got to make the decision that if hunger is not the problem, food will not help. I speak to you as someone who was morbidly obese for 30 years. I can't post I can't screen share. That was one of the things that this program that took over my camera settings was supposed to do, but I'm not going to be doing that now. So I can't screen share, but you can go to my blog and see my before photos. Actually, I was not at my heaviest at those photos, but I was that way for 30 years and sometimes heavier. So I said all the things to myself that I'm talking about. I have lived this. I make no judgment. But I will say, let's have some straight talk. Just because that's what we've told ourselves doesn't mean it was true, doesn't mean it was the right decision, doesn't mean we should keep on doing it. If we want a change, we have to change. That change can be anything from getting off of medications to feeling physically better, not having joint pain, having more energy, to having more confidence about oneself. It can be not failing, although, failure is a charged word. Well, we're not a failure because we're overweight, although I felt like a failure. All the other things in my life I had going right, all the other things I excelled at, and there are many. But it kept coming back to the fact that I was overweight and I apparently couldn't solve the problem. I could. I just pulled out every explanation and excuse and every pity party and glommed onto the wrong advice. So it was not just one thing. We want an answer for a situation as humans. We want an answer. Oh, I listened to the wrong advice. Yeah, that's one aspect. I believed the wrong advice. Possibly I wanted to believe the wrong advice. But also I made explanations and excuses. I put my brain in neutral rather than actually thinking. Should I be putting this in my mouth? I joked about it. I'm powerless in front of Oreos. I eat M&Ms. They're medicinal. They come in pill form. I made all the jokes. I made all the self-deprecating jokes about myself. So all of these things led to my situation, not just one thing. It's not just bad advice. It's a lot of things. But one thing is pretty obvious. Food does not solve problems. We don't use food to cope. We use food to not cope because, oh my goodness, if we're not distracting ourselves and kind of numbing our brains with food, then we don't have to deal with the loveless relationship, the pending bankruptcy, the water heater that doesn't seem to be producing any hot water. I don't know. Name it. The fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic. We don't use food to cope. We use food to not cope. And with a nod to The Princess Bride, that's why I put in the subheading, I don't think that word means what you think it means. Coping means dealing with it. You deal with it. You can't necessarily solve the problem right away, but you deal with the problem. You don't put the problem in the back seat or in the way back. You deal with it the best you can. Some problems don't have easy solutions. Many don't. Many don't. So that's my thought on that. And I don't mean to sound harsh. Again, I'm not saying anything to the camera that I have not had to come to grips with myself, about myself. If I can do this, you can do this. Doesn't mean it's simple. Well, the protocol is simple. For those of you who don't know what the protocol, keep your carbohydrate intake 20 grams or fewer a day, total, not net. If it's not on page 4, link below. Don't eat it, but you don't even need a food list. Just eat fatty sources of protein and lay off the carbs. Don't eat if you're not hungry, even if you've had a cruddy day. Stop when you're satiated, even if you've had a cruddy day. So I am going to turn my attention to those lovely folks who have shown up. And again, I apologize for the previous issues. We're your faithful audience, writes Nancy. You persevered and won. Hey, New Mexico nurse, a member of the club. Sorry, off topic. I have been on keto for 6 weeks. This week I started to have diarrhea and very bad breath. Could it be keto? Could it be the keto test 1.8 to 2.3 now? You know, I can't speak to that. Actually, our system should kind of balance out. But let me ask you, have you added things like MCT oil, extra coconut oil, which, by the way, are not on page 4, not part of the protocol? Coconut oil for sauteing, but not for drinking, because those can have quite the effect on our intestines. Are you taking a magnesium supplement, which some people just take prophylactically to stave off leg cramps? I don't treat for symptoms I don't have. Some formulations of magnesium can have that effect on us. So, I want to ask, breath, that can come and go. There is such a thing as I've heard of keto breath. Acetate is one of the byproducts of burning fat for fuel. So that's the breath offloading. The urine offloading is acetoacetate. Acetone is the one that's from the breath. Acetoacetate is from the urine. Beta hydroxybutyrate from the blood. So I would ask those questions. But some days we just have to go more and goes differently, and some days we're go slower, and I wouldn't read too much into it. Hello, hooray. Bonnie writes, hello, Casey. Glad you resolved your issue. Paula Molinari. Hi, Casey. Hey, Paula. It's been a while. Carol writes, hi, Casey. Hope you are doing well. I have never gained back the initial weight I lost on keto diet. I would like to lose more and need to get back on the wagon. Well, yeah, just jump on in, and the next time you eat, lay off the carbs. And if you're already laying off the carbs, now, did you say you have not? I have never gained back the weight. So you want to lose more. If you're already laying off the carbs and you want to lose more weight, you eat less food. As we get older, as we grow smaller, as our body chemistry changes, our fuel requirements can change. Okay, are you guys still talking? Because it seems like the comments have dried up, and I'm trying to see if we are still connected. Can someone say, hey? It's been one of those days. So how much food should we eat? That's a different topic. Hi. Okay, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, if you want to lose weight, body fat, hopefully you want to lose body fat and not lean tissue. Be careful of not getting enough food, because if you're arbitrarily not eating, chasing after some number on the scale, you must get sufficient fat and protein for the amino acids, or else your body will scavenge and get them from your lean tissue. If you want to lose body fat and you're burning fat for fuel, eat less food. We were just talking about this in the patron-only live stream. Someone asked about portion sizes. Yeah, portion sizes have gotten humongous. And it probably should be like this. This, not this. This, not this. Even if you're eating foods that are approved on page 4, if you consume more than your body requires, or as much as your body requires, you won't lose weight. So if your weight has been stable, then you now know how much to eat to maintain your weight. I have been weight stable for 3 years, over 3 years. And I'm talking about the fluctuation being minimal. I have a little range. I would like to lose some more body fat, or maybe it's not body fat. Maybe it's just excess skin. I don't have hanging skin. It's not like, but skin has depth and everything. So maybe there's not that much body fat. I would like to get, just so I could say I lost 100 pounds since starting the ketogenic protocol. But we don't want to hear that, right? I'll never become a millionaire, because millionaires tell people what they want to hear. Eat all the food you love. Just count your points. And that lasts for about 6 weeks. But if the first things people hear is eat all the food you love, or everything in moderation, or eat whatever you want and then take this supplement to burn body fat, that's not the way it works. Okay? It's nothing you can put in your mouth that will help you burn body fat. It's what you don't put in your mouth, carbs, that flip you over to being a fat burner. Hey. So thank you. I'm so glad. Paula writes, snowbirding now in Arizona. It was a process to be able to do it. So we have been super busy. Almost 3 years keto so far. Settling in Arizona. So nice to see you again. That's fantastic. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. She writes, I look good. Camera angle, lighting, and makeup. But I appreciate it. Patrons pay extra to see the way I really look. Thank you. By the way, a little plug for patrons. At my patreon.com, link below, I think. I do about 20 videos a month, snippets in the morning, sans makeup, and patrons suggest the topics. I also do about 5 or 6 patron-only live streams a month, 5 or 6 patron-only video group sessions a month, and one-on-ones with me, in addition to the occasional discount for swag. Oh, speaking of swag, 2021 Go Keto with Casey calendar available. I ordered, I was nervous about this one because I designed this all myself. I ordered fewer than I usually do. And so, get them. Anyway, you can see them at my blog. Link below. Kathy Smith writes, what is your take on collagen? I don't know. I don't know. It seems to me it's one of those things like, I don't take supplemental collagen. I eat, if you eat nice fatty sources of protein, particularly with the bones still there, cartilage has collagen in it, connective tissue. And so, you can make a chuck roast and all that connective tissue, or make some homemade broth. That might help. I don't take supplemental collagen. Maybe I would look better if I did, as far as looking better, as far as, skin. But you know what? I'm healthy. And I look age appropriate. What do I want to look like? I'm my daughter's sister? Well, maybe that would be fun if it happened naturally. But I look age appropriate, I believe. I feel much younger than my age, my chronological age. So I don't know. I one of my favorite doctors, Dr. Westman, says, show me the data. Please show me the randomized control trials. 60 people over at least 6 months with a well-designed thing. I don't know. I just don't know. So my take on it is I don't know. I do not use supplemental collagen. Molinari writes, I want one. Well, the link to the goes to my blog for a calendar is below. And when they gone, they gone. Gina Bishop writes, reminds me of when I worked so hard to get out of debt. There's no magic cure. It's all about hard work, sticking to your goals. To eat the foods on page 4. It's very much like getting out of it. It's like any other challenge. You know, I had a woman who jokingly said she never balanced her checkbook. When things got rough, she just opened a different account. That's denial. Yeah, if you have to get out of debt, you have to look and say, what am I going to do? What's my plan? Will spending more money get me out of debt? No. But shopping makes me feel good. It's my retail therapy. That's the debt version of I use food to cope. I think that, thank you very much for that, Gina. It's very much like that. We have to be realistic. And we have to quit feeding ourselves lines of bull. It's lines of bull. I'm on a rampage about this. Sorry if you've heard this. You'll probably click me out. If you've ever seen a few episodes of My 600-Pound Life, some of these are very tragic stories with trauma. What I'm talking about is separate from that, from the actual trauma. But the things that the patients say are exactly what we've all said to ourselves. They just had a very worse result. Food has always been my friend. Food has always been there for me. I use food to cope. Food calms me down. I'm starving. And that is said like even 15 times every episode. I'm starving. I just have to stop. I'm done for the day. Of course, these are very sick people. But who here has not used at least one of those phrases? I don't think anyone can raise their hand. I think we've all used at least one of those phrases to explain our choices. Ultimately, it's our choices of what we put in our mouth. We are in control of that. Food is not the boss of us. We are not victims of food. Hopefully below this video, if it's not now, there will be. I'm stronger than a cookie. T-shirts and mugs. You don't have to buy anything to be 100% successful in this protocol. A t-shirt will not help you lose weight unless you control what you put in your mouth. I'm stronger than a cookie. I can and I will. That's a subtle one. I-C and I-W. I can and I will. Food is not the boss of me. That's actually the last page, I think. Food is not the boss of me. Actually, the last page is me. Remember, if I can do this, you can do this, I promise. What we put in our mouths is our decision. No matter what our in-laws tell us, no matter whether it's a holiday, and what we always eat this. No matter what our friends may say, is that all you're going to eat? No matter what our doctors may say, you must have fruit to be healthy. False. What we put in our mouths is our decision. Sometimes we will listen to the message that tells us what we want to hear. One of those is everything in moderation. But if we could be moderate, none of us would be listening to this live stream. Juliette Verone writes, sorry, you might have already answered this as I'm a bit late joining. Did your skin improve when you switched to keto? Thank you for the question. My skin is my skin. I started keto 6.5 years ago, so I'm 6.5 years older. Some people report that, when you're fat, there are fewer wrinkles. But then that begs the question, are wrinkles evil? Are wrinkles a sign of a personality defect? No, I've got wrinkles. Some of you have met me in person, and only you can attest to whether I look better or worse in person. I believe I look worse because camera angle, lighting, makeup. But my skin is my skin. And actually, Amy Berger believes, quick commercial, Wednesday Wine Day will be this Wednesday. Amy Berger and I do a live stream. We were doing virtual wine evenings before COVID. This will be our 14th one. She believes that the saturated fat in the diet actually does help skin. But again, who knows? My skin is my skin. I do not have sagging skin. I mean, my arms, you can see, are pretty okay. I have crepey skin, but I probably was going to have crepey skin no matter what, no matter whether I lost weight or not, because I'm 5'1". I've had 3 children. I have had a hip-to-hip hysterectomy, so a big scar. My second child was 10 pounds, and I'm 62. So I was probably going to have crepey skin on my tummy anyway. So people ask me about my skin. It's not autophagy. I don't arbitrarily not eat. I don't fast. Some people do. That's great. I don't, because I don't want to think about food that much. Because if I'm fasting arbitrarily, at some point, all I'm going to do is think about food. And I'm done with that. My mother had nice skin. So it might be genetic if I had nice skin. But my mother also had cankles, which I got as well. So trade-off. Heather writes, you need to take your own advice. When someone gives you a compliment, say thank you, because you look marvelous. Thank you very much. You're right, Heather. Thank you. I feel great. Gina Bishop writes, hi, Paola. I'm in Mesa, and it's a great sunny day. Rashido writes, modern food is toxic, sadly. Well, ribeyes are modern. Maybe you need processed food. Heather writes, I already said that. 62, wow, that's my answer. You just look fabulous. Well, thank you. I feel fabulous, honestly. I feel much better than I did at 42. Actually, 32. Honest and true. Physically, I feel better. I was just lugging around. I weigh probably about 65 pounds less than I did when I got pregnant with our third child in my late 20s. So I've been morbidly obese since my mid-20s. Does anyone have you may ask me anything, and I will share most things. I will not share everything. I do want to do a reminder about the Wednesday Wine Day. Amy Berger, if you don't know, everybody knows who Amy Berger is. So smart, so funny. And we've become friends IRL. She's the Alzheimer's Antidote. Let me see if I can get a link to that. It's a registered event, but it is fun. And like I said, we were doing this before COVID. I'm going to put a little link there. Paula writes, hi, Gina, nice to meet you. We should private message. Rashid writes, do you know people with multiple sclerosis? Yes. I mean, I've met people. I actually know many more people now in this life than I did in my previous life. Yes. And there is evidence, some evidence, that symptoms of MS can be alleviated when you start burning fat for fuel through the ketogenic protocol. There's obviously needs to be science done, but I have a couple of patrons who have MS, amongst other things. Why do you ask? Have you been diagnosed? Anne Etherington, that sounds like a UK name, writes, do you have any cravings? Love, Annie Sparkle. Hey, it is UK. I guess that. You know why I think that? Because we've been watching Doc Martin, Dr. Eliam. No, I don't have any cravings. And I haven't really, let's define what a craving is. A craving is not a medical thing. And it's not a life emergency. Here's another thing from the calendar. I'm pretty proud of this one. I like to keep my creative juices going if I can. Where is it? Cravings are not a life emergency. Neither is hunger, for that matter. It'll be okay. And this is a break glass in case of emergency. So cravings, I think, are more like habits. Oh, I usually have a little bump of, the scene from Seinfeld. The episode where Elaine had been having birthday cake because everybody had a birthday or a retirement party or something, get well soon. So every day about 3:00 in her office, there were cakes, and she was so irritated with it. And then she didn't have a few days. She's like gotten used to that cake at 3:00 in the afternoon. It's more like a habit. So what do you do with the craving? Well, I'll tell you what you don't do with the craving is you don't feed it. If you feed a craving, it keeps coming back, as I've often said, like the stray cat that we fed 17 years ago. We've been feeding her on the side porch ever since. We got her fixed, and she's been in the side yard. Now she's much older. She's 17, and she might be behind me somewhere. She's decrepit, so she comes inside now. Don't feed a craving. You can get through it. You're not going to pass out from a craving. And once you get through the burn-in period, I told myself I could not go the rest of my life without eating. Make sure it's not one of my kids. It is not. That I could not eat. I couldn't go the rest of my life without tortilla chips. Couldn't do it. I knew low carb worked for me, told myself what I could not do. And I could not do that until I did. Now you could put a basket of tortilla chips in front of me and a basket of gravel. Neither one of them would I want to eat. You can get through this. Don't give in to the cravings. One of the months here says it's for Thanksgiving. It's time to give thanks, not to give in. I like that when I came up with that. Laura Decker writes, my loose skin is going to be my trade-off for being able to wear nice clothes, not tense, and most importantly, being healthy and well to participate in life, not just sail through. Precisely. That's great. And Rachid writes, I have MS, sadly. Have you been on keto? And it won't fix everything, but it might alleviate some symptoms. Doc Martin is a clone of my ex-husband. So funny. You should go to Port Isaac. You know what? I was just thinking about that. That would be a great getaway. It seems like a fantastic place. It's beautiful. Anne Etherington. I am an Etherington too from London originally. Go on. What are the chances? Gina writes, love Doc Martin. He's always so delightfully blunt, and his patience and with that, my husband and I said, because we're just now watching it, it's really kind of cathartic because he says the quiet things out loud. He says the things that we would love to say, but we don't because we're not Doc Martin, because we're not misanthropes, and we're not, emotionally stunted. One of the best is stop talking. Stop talking. I would like to say that sometimes. I'm from France. Goodbye. Thank you for your answer. Au revoir. Heather writes, I need to start buying new winter clothes. I got rid of my clothes that were too big. Love this way of life. Thank you for telling us the truth always. And here's another thing. I can only share my experiences and my understanding of the science. We all need to find our way. I do recommend narrowing down the number of voices to whom you listen, because there's a lot of conflicting information out there. So find a voice that speaks to you, a couple of voices that speak to you, maybe that say, well, that makes sense to me, and follow that. Give it a go. And if you find out, well, that wasn't the message for me, find something else. But ultimately, we are in control. We're in charge. We have the responsibility for our choices. Those over which we do have control. One of the few things in life we can control is what we put in our mouths. The rest is a crapshoot. But if I can do this, you can do this. I absolutely promise that if I can do this, as sad as I was, inside my brain. I have a great life. I've always had a great life, but I was so unhappy inside my own self. If I can do this, you can do this, even through the holiday. And remember, we don't use food to cope. We use food to not cope. Let's start coping. We'll be stronger and better off for it. Thank you, friends. And thank you for your patience. Sorry for the technical glitches before live TV. Stay safe.